so recently I was up in Boone, North Carolina, my hometown, to do a jazz gig, and this gig was in a house. We were up in a loft, and I was just crammed in the corner in this tiny little area right behind the piano, right next to the bass, just cramped in there. And when I go do these gigs, I'm always bringing different cymbals. I'll either bring prototypes that I'm working on, I'll bring other makers' work, and I'm looking to kind of expand my mind and explore how cymbals will react in very specific rooms and environments, because that's a huge factor with cymbals, is knowing where the cymbal's gonna be, how it's gonna translate in a particular room with a particular group playing a particular style. So I decided to bring my only Spizzichino Ride. I got this ride for a little bit cheaper than they normally go because it had a crack right up here in the corner, and we went in there and did a professional repair to it to kind of stabilize the cymbal, make sure the crack wouldn't expand. And I bought this sight unseen, sight unheard. That's not how you say that, but you know what I mean. So I bought this without even hearing the cymbal, and I just saw some pictures of the crack, and the person was selling it for cheaper than the Spizzichinos typically go for. All of the cymbals of his that I've played dozens probably at this point, and they all have a very unique, funky kind of vibe to them. Some are clean, a lot of them are real complex and gritty and dirty, and this one is no exception. This one is just an oddball cymbal, and when I got it and played it, I didn't love it, honestly. I thought it was kind of a mess, and that is mainly due to the fact that it's just got an interesting shape. It's got kind of a hook out at the edge. It's got some hums and some loose areas in the actual playing surface of the cymbal, and so it's also rather thin. It's a 20-inch, and I believe it's in the 1,800 gram range. Long story short, I decided to take this cymbal to my gig, and you know, I had it in the corner. I didn't think I would pull it out because I thought it'd be too messy in that room, especially like kind of an open, gritty, complex sounding cymbal. I felt like it might fill up the space in a weird way. But when I pulled it out and I put it on the gig and I started playing it, I was like floored. I realized, okay, wow, this thing is perfect for this kind of situation. I find that it has a little bit too much mid-range for me when I'm in a controlled studio environment, but on this gig, all the mid-range just kind of sat well below anything else. It didn't step on the toes of the acoustic bass or the piano. It just kind of dropped down, and what was left was this very, very dry, dark sounding stick with a little bit of bite on top. So it projected in a beautiful way, it filled the space in a beautiful way, and it kind of blew my mind. I mean, I've been waiting to put this on a gig for a while, so I finally did, and I'm bummed I didn't do it sooner. And so I had this cymbal on the gig, which I thought would be much better for the gig than the Spizzichino, and so when I had it up first before the first tune even went in, and it was just immediately not interesting to me. It has kind of a medium-low shape, and so I thought, oh yeah, it'll be darker, it'll kind of like blend a little better, sit below the band. But it was just kind of messy. It was actually more messy than the one I thought was messy. And so what I did, when I came back to my shop yesterday, I went in and took inspiration from the Spizzichino with the fact that it has kind of a hook out at the edge, and I hammered that into this other one that I thought was uninteresting, and immediately I'm like, now this one has a vibe like the Spizzichino has a vibe. So let's check out how these cymbals sound, and we can go from there. right, so as you can tell from the videos, the Spizzichino has a vibe. It's got something going on. I would love to know what you guys think in the comments below. What do you hear when you listen to this Roberto Spizzichino cymbal? I hear a fair amount of mid-range that in a studio environment feels like it would be too messy, like feels like it would kind of overshadow things, and my stick clarity is getting a little muddied by that. But on a gig, that stuff kind of disappears. It blends in and it just creates this vibe, this sense, rather than this thing that's overtly heard. And what's left is a cymbal that it feels inspiring to play. Now, the cymbal that I just reworked yesterday, as of the filming of this video, you know, it's probably been like 12 hours since I hammered on this cymbal. And this cymbal, because of that addition of hammering, and I only did the hammering out at like this part of the cymbal, this like the outer 2.5, 3 inches of the cymbal, to basically just kind of take what was a pretty smooth transition and just kind of pull it out like this a little bit, so it just has this tiny little hook at the edge. But they also are adding this complexity and this trash and reining in the sustain. That's the thing that hooks do in cymbals, which is just a beautiful, it's a beautiful thing to add to a cymbal when you're making one, is a hook at the edge is really going to contain and control the wash and the spread. So that's a great thing when you're dealing with a really thin cymbal. The Spizzichino is super thin, 1,800 gram range, low 1,800 gram range. This cymbal, I didn't tell you, it's a 20.5 inch and it's 1,954 grams. So it's a little bit heavier, but still in that thin zone. So thin cymbals can tend to just wash out, and that stick just gets overtaken really fast. But this addition of a little bit of a hook at the edge reins things in, controls things. So this design is something that I use all the time in my Tributary series cymbals. This is the line of cymbals where I use an artificial patina, and I do certain techniques to emulate the sound of an aged cymbal. I was very blown away by this cymbal, and I'm probably going to start taking it to some of my gigs and using it more often. I've discovered how great it can be in certain environments. That's another thing with cymbals. You know, once you play a cymbal in your drum room, wait, you know, hold out judgment until you take it to your gig. Hold out judgment until you put it in a different room that's more reverberant, or a drier room, or, you know, big room, small room. Do the whole thing. Explore the cymbal in different zones, and then you really will have a sense for what the cymbal can do. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want notifications, and keep an eye out for the next video. My name is Timothy Roberts. Thanks for watching.